So you either A, you got to charge appropriately for it, or really B, just get out of the business because you're just doing a disservice to the customer.
If you're closing 70% all the time, you're probably a little too low on price.
These pieces of paper that say I'm qualified for X, Y, and Z, that's not as important to us as somebody who is self-motivated. They're only working there to make money for their families. So would they rather A, have more time with their families, or B, have more time with their co-workers?
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And today I have Joshua Beal from Texas Home Pro on today. How you doing, sir?
I'm well, sir. How's your day going thus far?
It's going okay. If there were no problems, I think I would be bored.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about going. You guys have $5 million in revenue, or you're going to $5 million this year without an office, and so that's pretty interesting. And so, Josh, could you give me a little bit of background on Texas Home Pro and kind of how you guys came to be at that size with no office?
Yes, sir. You want an origin story, or you want me to stay mostly no office centric?
Maybe just whatever you can do in 2 or 3 minutes, just to give the full picture of where you guys are at now.
I got you. My father and I, we come from door-to-door sales, direct sales, construction period. Moved down here about 5 years ago, started up the business, mostly predominantly doing door-to-door sales. Just grew the team as, the years went on, and we needed more people and more staffing. And, we found that, without an office, office obviously comes with an expenditure, and especially in Central Texas, it's quite a hefty expenditure on a monthly basis. We found that it's worked out really well. It's very important to have the right people, utilizing the correct technology. I would say that's the biggest. Excuse me. You're not going to have an office where you're going to have people check in every day, and you're going to have somebody monitoring their production on a face-to-face level. Then it is very, very, very important to utilize technology heavily to make sure folks are doing what you pay them to do.
Great point. Great point. So those are some really initial ones. If you're going to have no office, things you got to do. Another question I've got is, where do you do meetings with you and your team, if not at an office?
Yeah. So we have relationships with local restaurants, and it just depends on what everybody wants to do for that month. Sometimes we'll go to a Mexican restaurant, rent out a party room. We'll have 30 guys come. Pay for everybody's food. A $500 restaurant bill is far cheaper than a $8,000, $5,000 a month rent payment on a property, on an office space, right? So we'll take them out about once a month and have a little get together, and but it's mostly about team building. We don't really hit them hard on hey, do this better, do that better, blah blah blah. We mostly just everybody gets around, eats a good food, and talks. Spend about half an hour talking business. We spend about an hour and a half just hanging out, and getting to know one another.
I did say that I was going to ask the hard questions a little bit here too. So I'm used to kind of like coaching my team a little bit, and like a little bit more like, because I mean, the goods and bads, right? There's good things about being able to be right there looking over somebody's shoulder, and there's bad things, right? Like maybe we don't want to even hire people that we have to micromanage that much. But like my question is around like that direct coaching level. Do you have that anywhere? Like, do you ever do ride-alongs? What do you do to kind of like coach or like grow those people or do you not feel like that's necessary?
No, absolutely. Training is as long as you have a proper interview process in place and you bring somebody onto the team and they fail, that's a failure on the manager. That's a failure on the owner. Usually, more often than not. So training, I think, is extremely important. So like, let's say, sales. We hire a sales guy, come in, mostly just run appointments. They'll do ride along for like 2 weeks, and they'll ride along, and they'll learn the business. If we're hiring a foreman, they'll ride along for 2 weeks with the project manager, and they'll also ride along with the foreman, with another foreman. It just depends on what the position is, like our receptionist or like a office manager, we do utilize technology again. I mean, everything is possible nowadays with computers. We can screen share. I can teach people how to use Job Nimbus off screen sharing,
Yeah.
on a Zoom call, so utilizing technology just depends. The amount of training and the time and the setting is all dependent on the position.
Totally. And I another tough question for you. Does
Hmm.
culture suffer at all from no office?
Define culture.
Yeah, I guess that's a good question. I honestly, I don't even know what culture is without an office because we have an office. And so a lot of when I think of culture, I think about the little like in between times, like there's a half an hour in the morning where people are a little chit chatty or whatever,
Right.
and it's a good thing and it's also a bad thing, right? Because it's less productivity.
Correct.
So there's a trade-off there, but there's also like we kind of know a little bit more about each other's lives, and then like sometimes, honestly, dude, I work a lot, and so
Right.
it's almost like built-in friends. If I'm
Mhm.
real with you, like
Yeah.
that's tough. Sometimes, like I think of the remote work thing as sometimes it feels like you don't get that like community aspect of what work can be sometimes.
So in the construction industry, I don't feel, and we've had decent level of success with it, that the community feeling is really necessary to have a successful business. At the end of the day, everybody works at Texas Home Pro. Everybody works for you at Hook. They're only working there to make money for their families. So would they rather A, have more time with their families, or or B, have more time with their coworkers in an office environment? So I mean, it's kind of, that's why I asked you to define it. A culture of success. I think we've succeeded with that. I mean, we're booked out months, or revenue's up big time, net profits up, customer satisfaction's way up. So that's why define cultures. Culture success, absolutely. There's no problem having culture success without having a physical office. Now, a culture of community or friendship or whatever, that probably does lack. But once again, we utilize technology heavily. So everybody gets issued an iPhone. We're all on group chats together. I have 4 computer screens in front of me. One of them is the group, all the different chats from iMessage. I mean, they got 6 unread messages right now. People post, stuff in there all the time. Like, this is the car I'm working on my Saturday. I'm at the beach on a Monday, or Sunday or whatever, and some of these guys hang out quite a bit outside of work, and they met each other through work. So, I mean, I still think they build friendships, but I think they may be more tight knit friendships, because in an office environment, when you're forcing 20 people to come together, there's friendly conversations, but I wouldn't really say per se friendships en masse.
Good and bads to both
Yeah, for sure.
options here, right? So, um, all right, talk to me about hiring and filtering people well remote and without an office. So talk to me about, is there anything you have to do differently than you would imagine this would be done if you guys had an office, like having people into the office, and as you hire, is it through Zoom?
No, we always meet the people in person.
Yeah,
So it depends on, obviously administrative or production, right?
yeah,
Production staff, we meet out one of the job sites. We run to 8 to 11 a day, and meet them out one of the job sites. And that's a good, in my opinion, great place to meet folks at for that role. Because you can kind of ask them a few questions as you're walking along, and you can kind of get a feel, on who they are and what they know. They can write whatever they want on a piece of paper and submit it as a resume, but meeting them at a job site, we found really high success with hiring
interesting.
good guys.
Yeah,
Now, administratively, we'll meet them out in public. We'll meet them at a restaurant, we'll meet them at a job site, things of that nature, and just have, kind of a casual conversation. The culture, I wouldn't say the culture, the way we run the business is, it's all about responsibility and
mhm,
self discipline.
mm,
So, you're expected to do your job. It's clearly laid out in writing. You sign off on it. You agree to this compensation. There's goals that have to be met on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. If you don't hit those goals, you get written up. You get written up 3 times and you're out of here. We don't have a lot of problems because I think the clarity is there. If I don't like the social media post that my social media person puts up for me, I just send a text message. I don't like that. Change this. Boom. It's done in 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't like the way a job's being handled, I send out a text message or an email or tag them on Job Nimbus. Hey, instead of doing it this way, do it that way. Boom. Results. So, it just, you got to find people that are, like, when we're looking for, like, administrative wise, we're not looking particularly for, like, people who were in an office environment. We kind of look for more people that are self-driven. So, like, if somebody says, oh, yeah, I went to college to be, a dental assistant or whatever, right? And, but then I didn't like that, so then I started selling cars. To me, that sounds great. Like, you thought one thing was going to be your life's path. Instead, you want to start selling cars, and you like selling cars, They're a go-getter, they're willing to kind of move and shake a little bit, which is what's required, especially like doing what we do. We do everything. We do bathrooms, kitchens, we do whole home remodels, home additions, concrete. I mean, there's nothing we don't do to a house. And so being able to be willing to learn new things, willing to move and shake a little bit, and is important to us, more so than like more typical educational, like, oh, well, you have these things, these pieces of paper that say I'm qualified for X, Y, and Z. That's not as important to us as somebody who is self-motivated, somebody who is willing to move and shake, make decisions.
Same here, brother. Now let me ask you a little bit about this. So you do all the things around the home. So talk to me about the different, because a lot of the people on this podcast are roofers. Strictly roofing or roofing, siding, solar, or whatever. So curious from your perspective, the two sides of that. Like, why would you recommend what you're doing, which is more types of projects? And then for a lot of our roofer audience, why do you understand why they're so focused on just roofing, or are you like always like a little bit like, why don't you do more? Is your lead flow down? Whether you're a company owner, office staff, salesperson, or installer, you're a roofing rock star. We help you get more leads with custom SEO, Google Ads, and a pro website.
Hook better leads.
No, I mean, I think that people should, do what they're good at, and also what the market has to bear, what's required. If there's 50 other roofers in your local market, maybe don't get into the roofing business, unless
you're in Dallas.
Right. Right. Yeah. We're in Central Texas, just north of Austin.
Okay.
There's a good amount of roofing companies here. I'm actually friends with a lot of the owners and stuff. Relationship building's huge. We initially started as a roofing centric company, and because that's what we did before. We've done lots and lots of roofing in my lifetime. But we found that there was a hole here that needed to be filled. The hole was remodeling. There was really no competitors in remodeling that could do what we could do. So
it's crazy how much. Oh man, it's crazy how much easier leads are to get to in remodeling. It's like, and then if you can parlay that into a roof, I mean, that's beautiful too. But I understand why people don't want to do remodeling, because I do think that there is a certain amount, like the amount of sensitivity and handholding in the home sometimes can be high. But then it's like the leads are so much easier to get because like it's just people want it, and there's just not enough remodelers right now to like service the need, or they become these like super high end remodelers where they're like it's too expensive for the average person to even afford.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There needs to be, at least in my market, there was a huge gap. There was like basically one super high-end remodeling company, And that was basically it. And then there's a bunch
Yeah.
of chucks in a truck, a bunch of
Yeah.
crackheads out doing remodeling work, you know how that goes. But,
Yeah.
the roofing thing is like, we were discussing prior. Roofing's great, roofing's fine, but insurance companies are getting way stricter. The homeowners, especially in Texas, I mean, they know we're going to get hail every year or two. They're waiting for a hailstorm for the most part. Now, we do retail roofing. I'm doing a 56 square retail roof next week. We do a little bit of retail, but we don't push it actively because your margins on roofing comparatively to remodeling, it doesn't make any sense.
How do you deal with the like? Do you have to have? This is like almost a sensitive question. Do you have to have people that speak English doing the interior remodeling work?
So Rilla allows you to listen to it's an AI in your pocket. Listens to the appointment. It's pretty crazy what it can do. It gives a script, gives everything they said. It breaks down some statistics for you.
Analyze talk ratio, interactivity, like how you and I are interacting back and forth. Long as modeling, like all those things.
This is the shit that I most believe in AI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Enhancing the
You're
user
about to put
experience.
math and data around something that used to be my magic skill.
Oh, absolutely.
So talk to me about that, because obviously the crew, it's just a different vibe with like the crews, the like construction crews. So how does I mean, like, obviously I don't want to be insensitive to different cultures and stuff like that. It's just that obviously does add a layer of complexity that it needs to be English speaking people in the home.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, so in the home versus on the home, so like remodeling versus roofing, right? Absolutely. Anyways, yes. So inside the home, it's we only hire clean cut guys. Most of our guys are retired military veterans. They're English has to be your first language. So I'd always tell the guys, the technicians, the production staffing, you're a grown man. Well, we have some women too. Grown man, grown woman, whatever. A stranger that is going into somebody else's home, their safe spot, right? And so professionalism, wearing the, company shirts, ID badges, all of our trucks are stickered up. We have like 18, 19 trucks all stickered up with trailers, because we want to take away, who's that guy. It's not a stranger, as much as we possibly can.
It's tough. It's an interesting business, right? We're in people's homes, and dude, hey, contractors on average, we've got more, in the industry, we've got more tattoos on average. There's a lot of like, and so it's not inconsequential to say to the workers, how do we make these people feel comfortable knowing that we're around their families, and like just anybody, it doesn't matter. You could be Joel Osteen, the preacher man, and be walking into somebody's house. You're a stranger. You know what I mean? Like there's an element of like, so it's an odd thing, and it's tough because on average, it's not always the perfect clean cut people that want to do like contracting work. So that's an interesting kind of dynamic.
You attract what you allow. If you hire, like there's some other remodeling companies around here that I don't even consider companies. They've been here longer than we have, and whatever. But it's mostly a bunch of what I call crackheads, because that's what they are.
You smell, like, even if you're just smelling like cigarettes going into homes, like I think that there's a lot of things that unfortunately, it's just easy to make people feel uncomfortable. So honestly, that's why I like if I'm real with you, that's kind of like why I like roofing sometimes, because I like that we don't have to be perfect in that way, and in the sensitive way that sometimes going inside a home requires.
Oh, 100%. I mean, so let's say you got 10 guys on staff, and 7 of them are they smell like cigarettes. They're drug addicts actively. Well, then you're only going to be able to get those kinds of people that apply for the position. Now, I feel for those people. I'm not against those people.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in my customers' houses, it's not allowed in any way,
Yeah.
shape, or form. They can go in other people's customers' houses. I care less about that. But in my customers' houses, you have to be clean cut, criminal records check, drug tests, all that stuff. It is very hard to find those people. When you do, guess what? You got to pay them good money. You can't pay them $600 a week. You got to pay them good money. You got to pay them a livable wage. But you get better quality work. You get a happier end customer. So yes, your costs are higher, but you can also charge more. If you got a bunch of retired veterans that are clean cut and you post it up on social media, they are a good looking outfit. People like that. They don't want a bunch of yahoos in their home for sure.
How do you stoke referrals at Texas Home Pro?
Mostly let the work speak for itself. We're blessed to have some really good technicians that really, this is their profession. They're true professionals, but it's all the way from the beginning to the end. When they book an appointment with us, they get an automated email that says, hey, welcome to the Texas Home Pro family, goes over all the stuff. When after they get done with their sales appointment, they get a text message, an automated text message, an automated email. When we send the estimate, that's another thing. We don't one call close ever. Mm-hmm. We only send estimates. We do inspections and we submit estimates. And then we let it go from there, which is different from many other companies. They want to write the estimate, try to close the folks right then and there. We don't do business that way. We used to, but we actually found a higher level of success not trying to one call close folks, because the other 3 guys they had out to the house were jotting stuff down on a piece of paper, shoving it in their face and saying, sign right here. We're saying, hey, here's the measurements, here's the photos, you'll get your estimate in about a week. And let us know what you want to do. And we have a 33.7% close rate.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I think it's funny. Like I've seen people say these outlandishly high close rates, and by the way, I know enough to know 33% is incredible and good job. It is interesting when people do those super high ones. I always know, 1, you're living off of just referrals, like you don't do advertising, and 2, either you're pushy or there's something else going on, because it's or it's just only storm all the time. Oh. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff like that where it's okay, but tell me more, because I want to know. 33 is incredible, especially if you do advertising and you don't just live off of referrals. And also, you know what I know, Josh? You're probably not the lowest person on price wise all the time. That's another thing. If you're closing 70% all the time, you're probably a little too low on price.
That's what these other guys need to understand. If you're closing 70% of the people you meet, you're either A, not meeting enough people, or B, you're not charging near enough money. So you need to find the threshold of paying for your market, because you got to make a living doing this. These folks, when they hire you to do a bathroom remodel, they expect you to warranty that thing in 3 years if a shower pan fails. Yeah. It is what it is. So you either A, you got to charge appropriately for it, or really B, just get out of the business, because you're just doing a disservice to the customer. You're doing a disservice to you and your employees, your company. And a
lot of them will go out of business. You know what I mean? So we're just talking about, folks. Sometimes we're talking about 1 or 2 guys who are kind of just off on their own for a little bit and are going to go back somewhere, or, we all want to start a company. It's not all of us want to run a company past 5 years. You know what I mean?
For sure. And I respect that. I know some of the highest quality guys that I know in the industry, it's just him and 2 other guys, and they do phenomenal work.
But I'm just saying, sometimes you don't charge enough to stay in business long enough to carry any warranties at all, basically.
Yes. I agree with that entirely.
So, I'm not making fun of 1 to 2 person outfits. What I'm saying is, charge enough so that you stay in business past 5 years and you can honor your warranties and your workmanship.
100%. I agree entirely. We see all sorts of folks that are only here for 6 months and then they go bye-bye, and, it just is what it is. It's tough. It really is tough.
Oh, yeah. It's not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. Well, Josh, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people go to check you guys out if they want to see your website or what you're up to?
Yeah, just go into Google, type in hashtag Texas Home Pro into the search bar, click enter, and it'll bring you up to all of our stuff. So we're on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Yelp, Twitter. I mean, we're everywhere. We do all of the marketing, all of it. There's nothing we don't do. We do all of it.
Awesome, man. Thank you for joining us. The podcast is put on by hookagency.com, Hook Agency all over social. I appreciate everyone watching and listening. Like, subscribe, comment, etc. And see you next time.
Have a good one.